War for Cybertron, it's not Megatron. Megatron? No. No. Just before we get into it too deeply, I know the couple of existing reviews out there already don't have that sweet, sweet box art. But I had initially just assumed that it was recolored Megatron box art. But it's actually completely different. One goes up, one goes down. I'll take the low road, you take the high road. So that's cool that they took the time to do that. What did suck about pulling him out of the packaging is he didn't come with one of those cool golden future disc cards. No card for T-Rex. I guess it's because he's meant to be some sort of exclusive somewhere. Exclusive! And here he is in the Cyberflash. So this isn't gonna be a tremendously deep dive up in here. If anyone wants to see this particular figure in, more nitty gritty and tease out all the painful deets, go ahead and check out my Kingdom Megatron video, because I did a real deep dive on that bad boy. Now, T-Rex is just a straight remold of Beast Megs, and therein lies some of the controversy. It is believed that he was supposed to come with an alternate head. If you're not somehow in the know, right, there was a couple of releases of the standard Kingdom Megs that came with a running change where he had a grimacing face, and you could see his teeth. The versions of those that made it to the public didn't have any paint decals for those teeth. They were just purple teeth. Right, now when you see T-Rex, it might look like his mouth's open, but it's actually just that exact same Megatron head sculpt with the silver paint apps that were presumably supposed to go on the teeth. So it kind of just gives him painted lips. I don't think it looks too badly. On mine at least, they managed to kind of get that stripe of silver sort of almost between his lips, so it does look a little bit like we've got a little bit of a grimace going on. But even if you think of it as a painted lip, I don't super mind. I don't know. For me, weirdly, it's somehow giving him kind of a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure vibe. That might just be me. JoJo! So let's have a quick look at this new deco, because that is the biggest point of difference between the two. And then we'll take a beat to talk about some of the quality control issues that this figure has been plagued with. Well, Megatron was plagued with. I am not Megatron. No. So firstly, I'm sure you've all noticed it already, how shiny that faceplate is. You lose some of the sculpt in the darkness of it, but then the metallic finish is so nice and shiny that it's catching the lights beautifully. I will also mention here, oh look at that, both sides of his head are the same plastic. So there's one up on Megs already. Anywhere where he's got that blue is the same metallic paint. I'm not sure if it's been painted or poured. In some instances poured, in some instances painted. His hand is painted, and it was clearly difficult for them to do because those apps aren't on there perfectly. Look at me shine! Ooh. One thing we don't get on T-Rex that we did have on Megatron is some of that airbrushed underbelly color. T-Rex, as a T-Rex, is mainly just that awesome ox blood, which I'm pretty well fine with. If you have a look, you get a little bit of a hint of the kind of sort of extra plumage, extra peacocking action that this mighty beast has got going on. But we'll get into that a little bit more when we have a look at that beast mode. His body really is just one kind of colossal slab of grey, which isn't the end of the world, but it is just bam, like in terms of the visual hierarchy of it, your eyes are just smashed right to it. And I know that that's the dealio with the original figure, but I don't know, the original figure was slightly more goldy than grey in its finish. And given that, the original Beast Megs was just all black chested, and they still picked out some dates for the figures. If we'd had the vents colored, or maybe they could have made a, metallic grey, metallic gold distinction and brought out some of this through here. Even, like, as we come down to his thighs, They've all just been cast in the one colored plastic without any apps on those. Right? I think it would have just been nice and brought out more of that sculpt visually if just we'd had some different highlight. I would have appreciated it. With just this colossal slab of grey in the middle, it kind of, when you like look at it from a distance, makes him look a little bit like he's gone to the beach at like the turn of the century in one of those old school full length suits. In terms of QC, anyone who watched my Base Megs video knows that I had a couple of issues. I was finding on my first figure, one of these popped off, which I think is a very real issue on this T-Rex version, because we have a look. That one's on pretty tight. That one is very wiggly. Not the end of the world, especially because now I know to watch out for this as a delicate point, but disappointing from a figure of this price point. Now, on both of my purple Megatrons, I've had some real issues with where the real feel dino skin connects to that endostructure. I gotta say, so far on T-Rex, I've transformed him back and forth once or twice, and these bits are holding on much better. They don't feel anywhere nearly as soft in terms of the plastic. Same as on the feet on my Megatron, all of this softer plastic has started to come away from his claws and his nails. But on T-Rex, at least currently, that's all sitting on there really nicely, tightly, snugly. I have no worries about his emu feet. If you're not from Australia and can't really summon to mind a picture of an emu's foot, this is exactly what they friggin' look like. I don't know how people didn't arrive at the dinosaur birds connection much, much sooner. Now, a new one for me in this mold is how loose this leg is. So, you know, it's not the end of the world, but it does make him a little bit like, oh ho ho, when you're trying to pose him out. I was an adventurer too, until I took an arrow to the knee. So let's go ahead and check him out alongside King Perp himself and see how they, you know, stack up side by side. Same radical reptile, hip new packaging. Megatron looks like he's just stepped off of some sort of screen with how fleshed out and fully resolved all of his paint apps and decals. And then when you look at T-Rex, who I hadn't thought he looked, you know, he was plain but not too plain when I was just looking at him by himself, but seeing him next to Megatron like this, it really does look and feel unfinished. Alright, before we go ahead and get him into his devil dinosaur mode, I can remember when I did my Megatron video, I was hearing from a lot of people about how tough his hip joints were and how lots of people have broken it there and have felt like the legs are going to come off and stuff. And that wasn't a case on Megatron, but I have found on T-Rex, I ended up having to go and get a goddamn spoon to crack that open the first time I transformed him. We won't get into the minutiae of it, I'm just going to speed through this transformation. Chop chop. What always impresses me so much with this mold is just how well balanced it is. You can always get him to throw some incredible shapes. And I'm still just really impressed with the engineering feat of making all this neck business come together so that you can get quite a lot of articulation out of that head and neck, and it always at least has a version of being nicely closed up. It's not super coming up awesomely on camera. Oh, not too bad. But there's these metallic blue like stripes. This deco looks so nice. He looks really, really good in this mode. Yeah. You see, for me, this is what it's all about with T-Rex. But double down on that Tyrannosaur action. Mamma mia. Here we go again. So the main difference is T-Rex has yellow eyes over Megatron's red eyes. T-Rex also nicely has metallic silver teeth, which is a point of difference to Megatron, who has sort of more realistically cast, I guess, kind of tooth-colored tooths. In this mode, you can really see that awesome metallic blue down his back, which is quite different to Megatron's kind of more, not realistic colors, but I guess supposed realistic application of color. And then Megatron has a painted underbelly where T-Rex does not, which is a little bit of a shame, because that would have really boosted this mode for T-Rex and might have almost made him the cooler decoed of the two. Especially when so much of his robot mode is unpainted. I feel like this must just have been a really easy one for Hasbro to push out, because exact same mold, less apps, no card, it just would have been a cheaper version. I'm a cash grab. And I'm happy for my cash to be grabbed, to be honest. So, is T-Rex a must-have figure? Nah, not really. If you're like, oh, I don't have him or Megatron, should I get T-Rex instead? Nah, you probably shouldn't, right? Megatron is much more significant to the franchise and has a superior deco and doesn't have glam rock lips. But if you're like me and just riding high on the wave of 90s nostalgia with all these beautiful beasts, then yeah, you gotta have him. Any use of this mold, honestly, I'm gonna get. Yeah, I would buy it again. Oh, look at that mug gleam.